people, building consensus, moving things forward, getting things done. So it's really cool to see all of these people pulled together to make Drupal 7. Another cool statistic is we actually moved more than 70, actually. The number keeps growing every day as we discover modules. We moved more than 70 modules into core. It's not like we added 70 modules. It's like, 70 modules have been deprecated, if you will, by some or more changes into core. Obviously some really big modules like CCK and Image API and Image Gas, but also a ton of really small modules, like small convenience modules. Of course, what that also means is that the code size has grown quite substantially, and we did refactor everything before moving it into core. And so yes, it added some complexity to core, but it also added a ton of power and flexibility. Unfortunately, Drupal 7 will be a little bit slower than Drupal 6, but at the same time, it will be much more scalable. So we'll be able to power much bigger sites. Honestly, I think we made the right trade-offs. I think we did the right thing. And further down in this presentation, I'll present a little framework which I think will help us think about those decisions. Another side effect of this is that actually Drupal now got so big that it's becoming difficult for one person to really understand all of this. And so that's a little bit of a problem. But I think the switch to Git will help to some extent because it will create more power, if you will, for the subsystem maintainers. The testing framework has helped a lot, and all of those things combined, I think, will help us manage that. Another statistics, a statistic, as of this morning, there is 114 critical bugs left, which is, it's a number. I don't know if it's a lot or a few, but there's different ways to look at this. But one interesting thing which I did is I sort of plotted this graph which shows you the number of critical bugs over time. And we started collecting data in April 2009, so roughly 1 year ago. And so based on this data, you can actually sort of extrapolate the graph and draw a trend line, if you will. And so if I were to pick a best case scenario, I would say something like this, right? I think it's June. Of course, if I have to draw a worst case scenario, it would be more like this, which would be like September, October 2000. And then, of course, the worst case scenario could get substantially worse as well. Who knows what happens? But it provides us a little bit of a reference and a framework to think about when Drupal 7 might be released. Of course. There's also the ideal scenario, and I've been thinking about this a little bit, like if we would divide up in groups of 30, we make 100 groups, now we might be able to fix it in the next hour. So, so I've arranged for security to come and close it. I'm sort of joking, but at the same time, I'm not, right? I think there is a message here. There is a message in that, we're so many people, right? We should be able to accelerate the bug fixing. If all of us stepped in and, we tackled one bug, then 114 bugs, or whatever the number was, is amazingly small. So it really, I think we can get it out quickly if we all step up and help. And I think if we can get it out, sort of shame on us, right? Because we didn't do what we needed to do. And as I said in the beginning, I think there's a real opportunity cost to not releasing it. Drupal 7 is so great, and if we would get it out, I think it would help accelerate quite a few things. So anyway, moving forward, but first a quick summary. So biggest DrupalCon today, lots of cool new developments. We power 1% of the web, and Drupal 7 will, I think, help drive adoption. So short version, I think the state of Drupal is strong. So what does that mean? Last time in Paris, I showed this slide as well. I think it was one of the ending slides in my keynote, but it essentially means we're hard to kill, but it doesn't mean we're big or that, that we're relevant. I mean, 1% seems like a lot, but at the same time, it's small. And so I looked at the crawler data some more, and for example, I found that this is what the other CMSs look like. So shockingly, WordPress is like, 8.5% of the web. If you look at the top 1 million sites, even WordPress is bigger than us when it comes to big sites. So I think we have a lot of growing to do there. What else can we do with this data? So an interesting question is, how many, what's the percentage of Drupal sites in the top million? And if you do the basic math, if you look at the update notification data on D.O, we know there's like 300,000 sites pinging home. We probably can blow that up a little bit and say there's 500,000 sites, because not everybody enables it. Drupal 5 didn't have it. And so there's 500,000 sites. And we know that there's only 10,000 sites in the top 1 million. We sort of know that only 2% of the Drupal sites are in the top 1 million. And I don't know, it was a little bit of a wake-up call for me, right? Because it means that in a way, we need to stop fooling ourselves a little bit in the issue queues, because this audience is not really representative. I think many of us are working on sites in the top 1 million, but there is a really large long tail out there of people that have really small sites. And that's something to keep in mind. So, all right, so we looked at the Drupal picture. Let's take another step back and sort of look at the world. Let's look at other, like the market, if you will. So, one thing that you see happening is that all of these CMSs are becoming more and more alike. They're adding functionality and stuff like that, which is in all of the other CMSs. And for people that have been around long enough, like 5 years ago or so, people had choice between hundreds of CMSs, and it was really hard to make a choice. Today's world, it's sort of Drupal, Joomla, or WordPress, and each of those CMSs have sort of their own category, if you will. Like it became much easier to make that choice, and that's a global trend. That's something which you see everywhere. If you look at the car industry, there used to be hundreds of brands of cars. Nowadays there is, I don't know, like a dozen or something. Same thing with airplanes. There used to be hundreds of different airplane companies. Now I can only think of 2 big ones. It also happens in the technology world. If you look at databases, people probably say Oracle and Microsoft SQL, for example. And then depending on the crowd, they also say MySQL or Postgres and stuff like that. Or it happens with operating systems. It's, Windows. Some people will know the Mac, and, even fewer people will know Linux. So, this is a very common pattern, I think, this sort of consolidation of there being a few winners. And I think it's important for us to be part of the winners. That's what I would like to see happen. Another way to think about this is, I also used this graph in Paris. So I wanted to, quickly summarize what I said there, but I think the winners have both reach and richness. And it's this combination that I think is important. So I think these will be the long-term winners. And what we'll see